Welcome to Unplanned and Untold, a podcast that dives into the real-life, unexpected twists of facing an unplanned pregnancy in college. Join us as we listen to the unplanned and untold stories of those who have overcome the odds in order to achieve their goals. Welcome to another episode of Unplanned and Untold. I'm your host, Caitlin Willing, and today we have Sophie Gilmore. Welcome to the podcast, Sophie.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for taking the time out of your busy day. You have a little one, about a two-year-old, is that right?
Yes, about 2.5.
Oh my gosh, that's a busy age.
Oh yes, and he is all boy, never
So
stop.
are we jumping off like tables and chairs yet, or what is he like?
Yeah, we've learned how to do flips
Oh my
at
gosh.
Mama G and Pop's house, which is my husband's parents. We
Okay.
love anything that moves.
Oh.
So we have like an electric four-wheeler that
Yes.
used to be an outside toy and it is now an inside toy. So yeah, he's very busy.
I love it. They make those cute little boy noises too. And the funny part is you don't even have to teach them. They just learn. They learn things go vroom.
Yep. Oh yeah.
Awesome. Well, I heard that your alma mater is one of our, competitions for Auburn, one of our rivalries. Did you go to UGA?
I did go to UGA.
Oh my word. I've got friends back in Auburn that are huge UGA fans. And every time we play them, we can't be in the same room together.
I know. And it's, football season coming up. My husband, we're going to have a house divided because he is an Alabama fan.
Oh my gosh. Well, yeah, we wouldn't get along in your house because being from Auburn.
Yeah, Auburn and Georgia, I don't think that you guys would be allowed.
No, not at all. Awesome. Well, I'd love to hop in and get started and kind of talk through what was it like going to college at UGA? What were your dreams and hopes when you started out there?
So I was a junior when I transferred to UGA. I went to University of West Florida for 2 years to swim. I was a swimmer since I was literally ever since I could remember.
Wow.
But I'm from Woodstock, Georgia, so just north of Atlanta, and I always knew I wanted to move home. And my sophomore year of college, I just wasn't loving swimming. Being a college athlete is a whole job. It's really hard. And just things at home, like I was so preoccupied. So I decided like next year I'm going to try to get into Georgia. And I knew there was no way I could have gotten into Georgia out of high school because it's so hard to get into.
Yeah.
So I applied, got in. So when I got to Georgia, it was fall of 2018, and I was so excited. I was like, I'm going to rush a sorority. Like I'm going to start the education program. Yeah. I moved with a roommate that I had known swimming when I was younger. A bunch of my friends from high school transferred at the same time. So it was a really, really exciting time going into UGA.
That is so exciting. And you lived with your sorority sisters or just friends in college? What did that look like?
Just friends in college for the first year. We both rushed and went separate ways. And she had other friends and I had other friends. And the next year I moved in with two of my sorority sisters that I met the previous year.
Awesome. And somewhere along the lines, a boyfriend comes into the picture.
Yes. So that would have been, I met my now husband in the fall of 2018, actually, when I was down in Pensacola visiting old friends at my old school. And he had a girlfriend at the time. I had another boyfriend at the time. So we were just like friends, like never thought anything about it. Went on for a year and a half, 2 years, like followed each other on social media, like just friends. And then COVID hit. And everybody's talking to everybody. We're all bored. So like somehow reconnected, probably like, I think he like slid into my Instagram DMs.
Oh my God.
Like, whatever, why not? There's literally nothing else to do. And then summer of 2020, I was down in Pensacola again, and he was still living there because he went to West Florida too. And we reconnected. And
did y'all do long distance?
Yes, we did.
Wow. Okay. For how long?
Well, that's where our story starts.
Okay. We'll dig right on in then.
So we met in summer of 2020. Things obviously moved quickly.
Right.
And we just the first time we got together, it was just like, wow, we have so much in common. We really like each other. Like, we spent a week together. Like, I didn't want to leave, but I had to go back because I had school starting.
Sure.
And so we were like, we'll just do long distance, whatever. It was kind of like we both knew we really liked each other, but we were also like, no pressure. We'll just see what happens, you know.
Yep.
It's only like a 5.5-hour drive.
Okay.
So, like if you hit bad Atlanta traffic from Pensacola to Athens.
Okay.
So we were like, it's gonna be pretty easy. He had just graduated, so he was just working. So he had a kind of a more flexible schedule. So yeah, we did long distance for about 5 months.
Okay. And at some point along the lines, you freaked out because you thought you could possibly be pregnant. Talk me through how that all unfolded.
Oh my gosh. It's like anytime I tell this story, people are like, that's not real. And I'm like, I have proof that he is 2.5 now. It's real. One of the first nights that we were back together, you know, things moved quickly.
Right.
And I went back to school, and I've always had a weird cycle. Like ever since I was a swimmer, like my doctor have always told me, like,
yes,
you're doing so much physical activity, like you're gonna have a jacked up cycle.
Right.
So I'd never like tracked anything. I was on the pill, but I would get some months I would get it, some months I wouldn't. I had literally gone like 3 or 4 months before without getting the period.
Oh my gosh.
And I was just like,
it's normal.
Yeah, it was normal to me, and like it never once crossed my mind.
Oh my gosh.
But the first time that we got together, I took Plan B just because I was like, just had a feeling. I was like, it's just weird. Like something just didn't feel right. So I'm just gonna take Plan B.
Okay.
So no thoughts whatsoever.
You just move forward. You're like, that's done and over with. There's no chance.
Yeah. So I go back to Athens. I'm living my life. I'm going on trips with my girlfriends. I'm starting school. I'm in my last year of the education program. You know, doing long distance with my boyfriend. And I had started to like get sick more frequently.
Yeah.
When I would enjoy alcoholic beverages.
Yeah.
That just never would happen to me before.
Okay.
And so I was like, told myself, and I laugh now because I'm like, okay. I was like, I'm getting older. Like, you know, I'm a senior. I just can't handle it the same way. So I literally never thought anything of it. And then one night, I was on the phone with my sister. My sister and I talk on the phone 10 times a day. So it was like one evening, and I was like, I have like the weirdest thing happening, and I don't know what it means. Probably nothing, but it's just so weird. Like all of my veins in my body were like so visible. And I was like, this is so weird. And I told her, I was like, they're all over my chest. Like you could see everything. And it was just the weirdest thing. She was like, you don't think you're pregnant, right? And I was like, there's literally no way I'm pregnant. And she was like, well, just go get a test, like, you know, to ease your anxiety, whatever. So I get out of the bath and I go eat dinner and tell my girlfriend as I'm walking out, my roommate, like, gonna go buy a pregnancy test, like, haha, like we were all joking about it. Like, it wasn't real. It was kind of just like,
there's no way. Not me. Could never be me.
Could never be me. That's not possible. I have no other symptoms.
Right.
So I went to Walgreens, got the pack. Like I had no shame. I was like, because I'm not pregnant. Like
it's not me.
Yeah, it's not for me, whatever. So I walk back in our house and I tell my girlfriend who's still sitting on the couch, I'm like, gonna go take it. Like, if I'm not down in 10 minutes means I'm pregnant.
Haha.
Like giggling. And I remember, it's such a weird memory that I have, but the cashier gave me like a coupon for a car seat. Like it was
my gosh.
I guess they shoved it in there when they saw the pregnancy test, whatever. And so we like put it on the fridge and we were like, ha ha, like not gonna eat that. It's just like funny. And so like, I don't know if it was intuition or just like my gut telling me, don't pee on the stick, pee in a cup.
Right.
I need to take more.
Oh my gosh.
So I go in the bathroom, do my business, stick the test in, whatever. Like I have no worry in the world at this point. I didn't even tell my boyfriend I was taking a test.
Wow. He was just kind of checking another box of like, we just got to make sure that this is not what's going on.
Exactly. Because I genuinely thought there was no way, not me, not me. So I start doing laundry. I'm like folding laundry, and probably 10 or 20 minutes goes by, and I'm like, oh, I need to check that pregnancy test, like to see that.
Oh yeah.
So I walk in and I'm walking into my bathroom and I see the two like bright lines.
Oh.
And I'm like, double
Wait.
take. Definition of a double take. I was like, so I'm looking at the box and I'm like, does two line means yes or no? Like, and I was like, sure, like it's a fluke. It's like, that's not right.
Right.
So I take another one and I'm standing there and I'm like, okay, wait. Like I'm starting to spiral. I'm like, there's no way. There's like, not me.
Oh.
No, it's wrong. So I took the other one because it was two of the line tests and then one digital. And so this time I stood there and watched it, and I'm watching it go across and the two lines pop up. And now I'm like freaking out. I'm ripping open the last one, like shaking, putting it in because it's the digital one. I'm like, this is the final answer. Like these usually are not wrong. I know that much about tests.
Yeah.
And yeah, it popped up big letters, pregnant. And I kind of just sat there for a minute and I was like, wait, what? Like I just started dating this guy 4 months ago.
4 months in, and being long distance, y'all probably hadn't been like actually together a ton.
No, we'd probably do like a weekend trip because he had just left Athens that previous weekend to visit. And then our next trip wasn't planned for like the next week or something. So we saw each other probably 3 times on a good month on a weekend.
Gotcha.
So I call my sister and she's at dinner. I'm like, I need you to walk outside. And she's like, what's up? And I was like, well, I just took the test
that you encouraged me to take.
Yeah. And she was like, okay, so you're good. And I was like, no, Taylor, it says positive. And it was just dead silence. And then I can hear her husband in the back go, wait, what? Because I know she's like on the phone, like, she's like, what do we do? What do we say? She was like, are you sure? And then she was like, you're joking. Like, that's not funny. Stop. And I was like, do you want me to switch this to FaceTime and show you the crime scene in my bathroom with the papers strewn and wrappers open? And she's like, well, are you okay? And I'm like, I don't know.
Like, what is even happening?
I don't even know how to digest this information.
Right.
And she's like, well, how are you going to tell mom? Because we all have a really close relationship. And I was like, I'm not even kidding. I can't tell her. Like, I won't be able to get it out of my mouth.
Why? What were you thinking? Like, what was the reason you don't think you could call her?
I think I was most worried that she'd be upset with me.
Okay.
Like, how could you be so dumb?
Right.
You know?
So the narrative started going early.
Yes. That was like one of my first thought was like, what is everyone going to think?
Right. Right.
Because in my mind, I was like the good girl who had a 4.0 and was going to be an elementary school teacher and went to church. And I was the good girl in my mind. And in my group of friends, I was the good girl. Like if anybody was going to get pregnant, it was not going to be me.
And here we are.
That's one of the funniest that all my friends say. They're like, we never thought it'd be you. So my sister's like, I'll call mom and I'll tell her. And I'm like, okay. Like,
what a sister, man. She took one for you.
For me. So I like opened my door because I was upstairs and my roommate was downstairs. And I can hear her watching like Vanderpump Rules or something. And she's like, are we good? And you couldn't see, like from the stairs, you couldn't see the living room. And I was like, I started to laugh.
I was like the nervous laugh.
I was like, we are not good. And I just hear the TV pause and like she sets her plate down. And she's like, wait, what? And I was like, we're not good. Like, we're not good. I just kept saying, we're not good.
Oh my God.
She was running up the stairs. She's like, what's going on? I was like, they're positive. She was like, you need to take another one. And I was like, I took 3.
All of them. They're all the same.
I'm already ahead of you. Like they're all 3. And she's just walking in. I'm like, they're in the bathroom. She's walking in like, scared.
Like, you do. What
Yeah.
do you even say? I don't think any of us even, I mean, we ourselves don't even know what to think about ourselves getting pregnant, but then a friend, to be that friend, it's like, what do you say to that?
Yeah. She just like looked at me and she was like, oh my God. And I was, yeah.
So now what? I mean, how long until you talk to your mom?
So we went downstairs and she's like, well, what did Brett say? And I was like, I haven't told him.
Because you didn't think it'd be positive.
And she was like, Sophie, you need to call him. And I was like, over the phone? I tell him over the phone. She was like, well, you could tell him when you see him. And I was like, I'm not going to see him for another week and a half. Like,
No.
I can't do that.
Right.
So as we're having this conversation on the couch, I'm sitting with my phone. My mom starts calling. And I'm like, I got goosebumps just now thinking about it. I was like, oh my God, because I'm gonna pick up the phone and she's gonna like be really mad at me, or she's gonna be really loving and understanding.
Right.
Because I've seen both sides of her and they're both wonderful sides. But this is not information you want. Like, this is not happy news right now.
Yeah. So because it does affect everybody. And in the midst of it, when we're scared to tell our parents, I don't think we're really thinking 100% clear on, holy moly, this affects everyone in the family. It changes the whole dynamic of the family.
Yeah.
It's wild.
So she calls me and I answer and I'm like, hi, mommy. She's like, hi, honey. And I just don't say anything. And she's like, are you okay? And I was like, no. And I just start crying. And she's like, it's going to be fine. Like, we're going to figure it out. Like, there are worse things in the world that you could be doing. Like, you could be calling me from jail. And I'm like, well, that's a good way to look at it.
Did you think that would be her response of just calm, cool, collected, like, we've got this?
No, not at all. I really thought she was going to be like, I'm so disappointed in you.
Right. And so cool.
Yeah. Thankfully, she was not. And I still, I will always hold that very close to my heart because I know a lot of girls don't get that reaction.
Right.
So then she asked, well, what did Brett say? And I said, well, I haven't told him yet. She was like, you need to hang up the phone right now and call him.
Okay.
And I'm like, no, because I didn't have to tell my mom. My sister told my mom. And I was like, can you call him?
Can you call Brett?
No. But I had texted him right after I found out and was like, hey, call me when you get a chance.
Right.
I need to talk to you about something. And he had told me earlier in the night that he was going to be playing video games with his friends. Sure. So he was going to be away from his phone, which was normal at the time. And he didn't answer. And so I texted him again. I was like, hello, really need to talk to you. And I tried to call him, he didn't answer. And a couple minutes went by and he starts to FaceTime me.
Okay.
And me and my friend just looked at each other and we're like,
great. Now you got to look him in the face and tell him.
Yeah, it's happening. And I was like, I'm going to go upstairs, and tackle this.
Yeah.
So he's just on the phone. He's like, chipper asking me, he's like, hey, how was your day? What's up? And I'm just like, it's fine. He's like, well, what did you need to talk to me about? And I literally couldn't even look at it. I was literally holding my phone like this. I was like, couldn't look at him. I didn't want him to look at me. I was just, because in my brain, that was also one of the first thoughts was he's gonna break up with me.
Right.
He's not gonna want this. He barely knows me. We've been dating for 4 months, We've known each other for years, but we've only recently gotten to know each other.
Sure.
And so I'm not saying anything because I'm just holding back my tears. Just don't even know what to say. There's no good way to deliver this news, especially on the phone 6 hours away.
Yeah.
And so he's like, what's up? Just tell me, what's going on? And I still can't say anything. And he's like, are you breaking up with me? And I started to laugh.
No, sir.
I was like, quite the opposite, actually. And he had known that I had been getting sick and not feeling well. And I was like, well, how I told you I've, been feeling kind of sick and how I'm really good at taking the pill on time. Well, I was doing a whole lot of I didn't saying the word pregnant was I probably didn't say it for a week.
Isn't that wild? There's just even the stigma about saying it out loud, like when it's not in the marriage context, is just, it's hard to say. It almost feels shameful in a weird way, which he is just as much in this as you were. So even saying it to your partner, you would think maybe less, scary, but not.
Because like even going off of that, like you saying he's as much of a part of it.
Right.
And he's my partner and he is my boyfriend. Like in my mind, I was still like, but to him, like I'm this like godly, educated, like driven girl. And now he's gonna think of me so differently.
Isn't that funny? What a double standard that is, as if it was like on you, you know what I'm saying? Like you did this, right?
Yeah.
It's wild.
But I told him, like I'm really good about taking the pill, but I haven't been feeling well. And so tonight I just like took a test and they were positive. I didn't even say pregnant. I was like, they were all positive. And he was like, kind of like looking around the room, like, he was like, okay. He was like, are you okay? And I was like, just broke down. I was like, I'm not okay. Like, this is not the plan.
Right.
Like, I love you so much, but this was not the plan right now.
Right.
And like, I don't know. And of course, this was always everybody's first question. Well, what are we going to do?
Of course. What's the next step?
And I'm like, dude, I don't know. I just found out 10 minutes ago. I don't know.
We need a process.
This huge life decision. I don't know what we're going to do. And he's like, okay, like, let me pack up my bag. I'll be there in a couple hours.
Wow. So he drove the like 5.5 hours to you.
Yeah.
What a guy.
I told him at like 10 or 11 p.m. Like this all kind of unfolded from like 8 to 10.
Oh my gosh.
Like, okay, I'm going to pack my bags. I think he slept for like 2 hours and then came. So he would be there when I woke up. Which I didn't wake up because I didn't go to sleep.
Right. You're contemplating your entire life at that point.
Exactly. So he gets there and I was nervous about like how the conversation, because it was over the phone and now I have to look him in the face.
Sure.
And we have to decide what in the world is happening. Like our whole world just got flipped upside down.
Yeah.
So yeah.
What was his input? I mean, so he comes and he's at your apartment. Like what initially did he want you to tell him what you wanted to do? If you wanted to explore other options, was the ball in your court, or did he have a bit of an opinion on what the next step would be?
Kind of a little bit of all of that, again, you usually don't really talk about abortion and things in the first 4 months of your relationship.
Right.
Old, like that doesn't come up. That had not come up in conversation for us.
Okay.
And so he was just like, I just want to do what you want to do.
Okay.
This is about you. Like this is about to be obviously life-changing for me, but also for you, whichever way we go. Right. And we had long talks about what would be best. And we were also trying to do the math of like, okay, how far along could I be? Right. Because no, we did not want to have a baby at that point.
Of course not. It wasn't in the plan.
No, we're in our early 20s. Like we're about to be able to just like explore the world and live life and do whatever we want on our own timeline. So we're like, okay, I'm like 3-4 weeks max. Okay. And it's so funny because I can't even believe that we had this kind of thought process, knowing the beautiful, awesome child we have now, Right. But we were like, we do like have an option. Right. So we went to explore that option. And that's another word that is like still 2.5 years later, so hard for me to say. It is. Because it's just like, and I hate to use this word because I don't like when people use it lightly, but like it's really triggering to me that it's like brings back all these thoughts of like, how could you do that? Why would you do that? Like knowing what I have now. Right. So we went to a clinic and again, it's still 2020. So I had to go by myself.
Oh my gosh. Cause in the midst of all the COVID protocols.
Yes. Yeah. And we were in Atlanta, so they were like very still down. They were locked down. So He drove me and he dropped me off and he sat in the parking lot. He was like, I'll be here the whole time.
By yourself, going in there.
So I'm walking in there by myself, and this whole time I'm filling out all the paperwork, and I'm just like, WTF. Like, this sucks. Like, that was really the only thing I could keep saying. I'm like, this just sucks so bad. Like, this is not how I wanted it to go.
Right.
And thankfully, like, my sister and my mom and my best friend were on board with this decision.
Right.
And when I had told my best friend, it's a funny quote now, but it's not so funny. Like, I had to FaceTime her too, because she was in Pensacola.
Wow.
And I called her and she was like, I told her that I was pregnant, and she said, okay, so are we excited, or are we exercising our right to choose? And I was like, this was after I hadn't even told her that I was going to the clinic. I hadn't even told her I was pregnant. And I was like, no, we're happy now, but I'm in the clinic all by myself, and I'm sitting there for like an hour just by myself, separated from all of these other women, because it's like the 6 chairs in between. So it's not like you could even like look close to someone.
Right.
And she takes me back because I thought I was just going in to take the pill. So it was going to be a quick thing. And they go to an ultrasound first. And another thing, like, that just really always sticks out in my memory from this day, they asked you to sign a form of like, do you want to see the ultrasound?
Oh, really?
And so I'm like, no, I don't want to be. I was like, I don't want the first ultrasound I see of myself to be something that I'm ending. Like, that's not how I want to remember it.
Okay.
This is already going to be traumatizing enough. Like, let's not bring that into it. So I said no, and I'm laying on the table. My eyes are shut, and she's doing the ultrasound. She's like, so how far along did you say you were? And I was like, I don't exactly know, but I think like 3-4 weeks. And she goes, you are not 3 or 4 weeks. She goes, you're way too far along for the pill.
How far did she think you were?
And I literally opened my eyes and I was like, excuse me? And she was like, yeah, you're like 15 weeks.
Wow.
I literally scream, like, not scream, but very loudly. I'm like, what the bleep?
Yeah.
I'm like, are you sure? And she's like, yeah, you're going to have to come back for another day for a different procedure.
Okay.
And I'm like, and then I am completely spiraling. That is one moment in my life I can truly say, like, I felt like the world was like, I couldn't even see straight. Like, I was shaking, and she had handed me back my slip or whatever and was like, take this to the front desk and they'll tell you what steps are next. And I saw the ultrasound sitting right next to it.
Wow.
And like, excuse my language, it was a whole ass baby. Like,
wow.
Ultrasound picture, like the little nose, like it was a baby. And I was like, what is going on? Like,
it's not what you thought.
No, like, we thought we were going in there, and yes, it was going to be really, really hard, but it was a decision we thought was right at the time. And so I immediately run out to Brett, and I like just puke everywhere.
Oh
like,
my gosh.
I'm like,
your body's just viscerally reacting.
Like, it was so horrible. I'm sobbing uncontrollably, and all I can tell him is like, I'm 15 weeks.
Wow.
Like, I'm 15 weeks. And he's like trying to drive straight, and it's like, oh my God. And from the drive from the clinic to where we were staying was like 15 minutes. And in that 15 minutes, we had decided that we were keeping the baby.
Really? What was the switch? Like, what made y'all change your minds?
I think for me, and of course, like, I'm a researcher. Like, I want to detail about everything. So as I'm hysterically crying, I'm Googling like 15-week-old fetus.
Right.
And the first thing that pops up, it's all the milestones. They have fingernails, they have hair, they're the size of, I think he was the size of an orange. And I literally just threw my phone in the backseat. And I was like, no, that's not what I thought I was doing.
Right.
And I'm not comfortable with that, and I don't want to do that.
Right.
Okay, me neither.
Okay, so he's on board.
Yeah.
He said, let's do this.
So we were like, okay, I guess we're doing this.
Wow.
So he went back to Pensacola because he had just taken off a whole week of work. Like, from the time that I found out to the time that we were at the clinic was 4 days. So it was a quick turnaround.
Yeah.
And then 5 days when we realized that we were about to be parents.
Right.
So he goes back to Pensacola. I go back to Athens. And that was really all a blur of like going back to Athens, packing up my entire life there, going to Atlanta to move in with my mom. Because at the time, like I still have other life things and school
You're still in
going
school.
on. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I was an education major, so I was student teaching at the time.
Okay.
So I was in a classroom in the fall, 3 days a week, full day. And then the next semester, my last semester in the spring, was every single day for like 4 months. So you basically like take over the teacher's classroom. Okay. So the classroom that I was in, she still had in-person students, and then she had a Zoom class.
Sure.
Of like parents who didn't want to send their kids back. Right. Because of COVID. And she was drowning doing both. Like as a teacher now, I cannot imagine having to teach
2 jobs. Yeah.
No, it's impossible because you're neglecting one group. And it was the kids on Zoom that just, got the bad hand.
Right.
And so it was the end of the semester, and I hadn't told her at all. And by this point I was like 5 months.
Wow.
Because you usually like move up with that teacher so that you can teach with them. And I had told her, so I'm pregnant and I'm due at the beginning or at the end of March. And like, I'm going to be in your classroom. So I had this idea, could I just teach your Zoom kids?
Right.
And she was like, absolutely, you could do that. Like,
Perfect.
That would be so helpful. Perfect. And before she even said any of that, she was like, you're pregnant? And I was like, yeah, I'm pregnant. She was like, I didn't even know. And I was like, that's the point.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't want you to. So thankfully that like transition was a lot more settling. Yes. With all the other
You didn't have to have that experience of walking around campus with a big belly and senior year. And almost in a way, you're probably one of the few people where COVID kind of worked a little in your favor.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
So we fast forward to graduation day, and you had already had your son at that point. Is that right? How old was he?
5 or 6 weeks old.
5 or 6 weeks. So you had a little nugget. Did they let y'all walk? What did graduation look like in the midst of COVID?
It was broken up by like colleges. So like college of finance and business and some other stuff they were on like Friday, and then I think it was education and maybe 3 or 4 others on Saturday.
Wow.
Yeah. So it was a smaller thing, and you could only bring in you had 4 guest tickets.
Oh my gosh.
Because normally, and I don't know how it is at Auburn, but like normally on graduation, like the gates are open.
Everybody can
come in.
Right.
So it was my mom and Brett and my sister and her husband.
Okay.
I got to watch me graduate, which was awesome.
Oh my word. And take me back to that feeling of knowing that you finished, like you finished school, you accomplished what you set to accomplish, but yet you had this tiny little baby at the same time.
I think for most of my pregnancy, like I separated myself from even being pregnant or about to be a mom.
Right.
Like I carried so much shame the whole way through.
Wow.
Just, like, how embarrassing. Like you messed up so bad. Like you're that girl, whatever. And then when I finally finished, I finished early because I had to, because of my due date was March 31st, and I didn't end up having Griffin until April 7th, but I like squished everything. Like I did double the amount of work so I could get done all of my requirements.
Wow.
And baby.
Wow.
And I'm waking up on the morning of graduation, I'm like, I really did that.
Right. You did.
Like, and when I was sitting in my seat, I was like, yeah, all of these people graduated, but like, so did I.
Yeah.
And I had a baby.
Yes.
Like I had the moment where I was like, girl, like you're not like, you're not realizing how cool of a thing that you just did and how unique your experience was.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So with that being said, if you could go back in time and talk to Sophie and give her advice as she finds out she's pregnant, what would you say to yourself?
Oh my gosh, a lot. I wish that I would have celebrated myself more. And because I was surrounded by so many good people, like I had the boyfriend who was holding my hand the whole way and cheering me on, that I know a lot of people don't get. And I just let myself get into this hole of like, this is so horrible. This ruined your life. This is not how it's supposed to be. I had a sister and parents that were cheering me on and getting me ready and getting the nursery ready. And I had friends who, same thing. Everyone else was celebrating me and this great thing that was about to happen. And I couldn't get over the shame. And so I wish I could have told myself and shook her and been like, you're going to be okay.
Yeah.
This is a really cool thing. It's not how you planned it, but it's still really cool.
Yeah.
And now I'm like, have this little dude that follows me around everywhere and is like my built-in bestie.
Yes.
And
Sweetest.
I think that would be the biggest thing. Like, celebrate yourself.
Absolutely.
Be proud of yourself. Don't be ashamed.
I love that. I love that so much. And I hope that, women who are listening that may find themselves in the situation can really digest that. And it's hard. I think it's a really hard piece of advice to absorb when you're in the moment, but hearing it, that there's light on the other end of this. And you look back and you're like, you should be so proud of yourself. Absolutely proud, because you did it, and you did it for Griff, you did it for his future and the future of your little family, that in the moment of finding out you're pregnant, probably weren't thinking you'd be where you are today. Did you?
Not at all. Not at all.
Oh, well, thank you so much for coming on the podcast and sharing your life and your heart and your words of wisdom. And we really appreciate it. And to all our listeners, thank you for the support. We hope to have you back in 2 weeks for the next episode of Unplanned and Untold. Bye-bye. As we all know, life doesn't always go as planned. And if you or someone you know is facing an unplanned pregnancy in college, visit babysteps.org for more resources. Thanks for joining us. And until next time, embrace the unexpected.